1.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 4 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and start the board meeting, call to order, and roll call.
David Nigro,
Present.
Mike Manley,
Present.
Linda Bove,
Present.
Mike Gordon,
Mike won't be making it.
okay. Dean Howard,
Here.
Mark Sims,
Here.
Sue K. Kneifel,
Here.
Shelley Herbold,
Here.
and Lynn Davison is present.
So before we start the formal agenda, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our newest board member and give her an opportunity to say whatever she wishes to say. It's Linda Bove, and we welcome her to the board, and we're ready for you to do some heavy lifting right away. No, I'm kidding.
Oh boy. Oh my. Thank you for that nice introduction. My name is Linda Bove, and I am thrilled to be on the board with all of you and all of the board members. I started my career as an actress. Many of you do know that. I was on Sesame Street. I was involved with a lot of work with children through television. There was such diversity there with my job. I have lots of experience in that, and that's where I learned how to interact with different children and their different needs. I worked on that show for 32 years, and then I decided to retire. I was involved with the Deaf West Theater in Los Angeles. That was founded by my husband, Ed Waterstreet, and that has been in place for over 20 years. My husband decided to retire, and he said he wanted to come to Arizona because of golfing. He said it was paradise. So he moved here, and I followed right along. I do work part-time as a certified deaf interpreter, just like Shelley here, and I do enjoy doing that as well. In-state and out-of-state, I decide on what I like to do and get involved. I volunteer in various organizations on the local and the national level. I've been married for almost 50 years now. Yes, and I've lived here in Phoenix. Oh, thank you, Shelley. This is my 6th year here in Phoenix. So I am thrilled to be a part of a school and be a part of deaf education and the diversity and the needs that are here. I'm looking forward to finding time to visit various classrooms at the various locations as time permits. And I guess that's about it. So that's my narrative. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome. So going on to the agenda, 1.02, information item, Quad City presentation, Assistant Superintendent Rex.
Good afternoon, Board. Board President Sims, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Jane McDonald, who is the Director for the North Central Regional Cooperative, and she has some information to share about our Quad City program that we have kicked off this August.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now, I made my children promise I would not do any Hamilton rap and embarrass myself and everybody. It's difficult not to, but just let me say, I'm at your service, sir, and that's all I'm going to say. Okay. Board President Sims, members of the board, newest member of the board, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendent Rex, my valued and treasured colleagues and members of the audience. Thank you very much for inviting me here to tell you a little bit about what's happening up north. So as you know, the North Central Regional Cooperative is in the northwest part of the state. It is the biggest cooperative land-wise. We serve Mojave, Coconino, and Yavapai counties. That comes to about 40,000 square miles. 40,000 square miles, yes, that's correct. So it presents us with many challenges, how to serve these students who live far away from services. One of the ways we are doing this is by having hubs where the students are, and we have teachers and staff in those hubs as well. I want to tell you about our latest project in which we are serving the Prescott area which is our biggest hub, student and teacher-wise. So we have, let me show you what that looks like. Here you'll see there is the Prescott area, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Mayer, and then Ash Fork, which is north, Baghdad, which is OMG, way far away in the middle of really nowhere. It's a corporate, it's a company town, and it is beautiful there. It's secluded. If you break the law, you're booted out. So it is really, it's fun to go there, it's fun to work there, but it's a 2-hour drive one way. So Baghdad presents unique challenges in and of itself. But you see there, this is the service, the area that we're talking about. This is about 300 square miles, the Prescott area. So our challenge was how to provide services to these cities, how to do this and make the best, find that best balance of providing services to kids in rural areas, which is the challenge of the cooperatives. That's why we were established. To balance that with not spending excessive amounts of money, which is what itinerant teaching often comes to. So how are we going to do this? We began talking to superintendents in the Prescott area, since it was our biggest hub in 16-17 school year. No, 15-16 school year. Last year, 16-17, we spent the whole year planning for this, meeting with the Humboldt district, who volunteered. Dan Streeter came up and said, yeah, use my district. This will be a great place for you to do it. We would love to host you. And we'd like to do it at Coyote Springs Elementary School, Glassford Hills Middle School, and Bradshaw Mountain High School. Score. We met with the teachers, we met with students, parents, families, all last year, got it set up. Danielle Cummings has been the coordinator of these. She has done a bang-up job, just super. So we give her the credit for a great deal of the success of these programs. So our challenge was how to serve those cities, recognizing we still have cities that we have to serve itinerantly, like Baghdad, and what to do about this one little kindergartner in Ash Fork who has no language, what to do about that. In the Prescott area total, there's 65 students. 9 of them require sign language, 9 of them require Braille, and extensive assistive technology that comes along with serving students with low vision. To do this, we have in this area 4 teachers of the deaf, 6 interpreters, 3 teachers of the blind and visually impaired, a part-time Brailleist, a full-time aide, and 1 intervener. So these were the resources we had to work with. Okay, so we started meeting and thinking and planning. One of the big problems was how to get the out-of-district students into the district. And Dr. Rex spent a lot of time meeting with transportation and with the superintendents there, the SPED directors. How are we going to do this? We decided that we would then form this partnership, bus the kids in to the Humboldt schools. The students who were currently in the Humboldt district that we served would not be considered part of the partnership program unless they had these high needs and also attended the Gen Ed program. That was a critical component of it. We were not focusing on the students with multiple disabilities in this particular model. We also agreed that we would increase the amount of tuition reimbursement that we give to the schools. So for every student that is vouchered, and remember that is for a student whose primary category of eligibility is either hearing impairment or visual impairment, we collect the voucher that that school would have collected. We give back an amount of money which has changed through the years. It was leveled off at a flat $1,500 per student. We said to the Humboldt district, we'll increase that to $3,000 per student because now you're bringing out-of-district students in. So we agreed to do that. We also agreed that we would have an on-site coordinator and that is Danielle Cummings. Humboldt agreed that they would give us a classroom in every school, one of those 3 schools, where our teachers could work with kids, and they would also provide office space for our staff. The transportation was one of the, well, it was a difficult issue because cost was involved. So I'm very happy that Dr. Rex took care of that and spared us all the pain of that negotiation. We figured it out that we would, because this is only 6 students that we're talking about now, but they live far out. So we had to bring them in to one of these 3 schools. For these students, they all come, 6 of these students come to Coyote Elementary and 2 of them go to the middle school. The longest ride is for that the young child who lives in Ash Fork. They agreed to join up with us. They transport her to Chino. In Chino, she catches the bus into the Humboldt School District. But that's a 90-minute ride one way for her. That's a significant ride. So 4 of the students arrive an hour early. We have 2 staff members that meet them there. We use that time for instruction, for catching up on homework, and sometimes just for them to have time to interact with their friends. And right, we had to contribute to the transportation costs. In the Humboldt district, then, there are 37 students. 16 of them are in the partnership program. 8 of those come from out of district, and 8 are in district. So here's the benefits, and I don't think there's any way that I can fully explain this, even with my true ability at Hamilton Rap. I can't tell you how amazing the benefits have turned out to be. So first of all, of course, we are consolidating teachers and equipment in these places. What this means is we are not losing teacher time as they travel, and we are not losing time for interpreters to go from one school to the next. They're all there. The equipment is there. There's a lot of equipment for the vision kids, and we have it all there, and we have the teachers there who know how to problem solve, troubleshoot, and that is an incredible benefit. Here's the staff that we have serving there. 1.5 teachers of the deaf, 1 teacher of the visually impaired, and then the rest of the staff you see there. For the high school and middle school, 1 teacher of the deaf and 1 teacher of the visually impaired cover both of those. What this means is there is always a teacher there on site. And that sounds like a simple equation to you. Of course, the teacher's there at the school, but in the itinerant model, this is not a given. What this means is our teachers are there to be in the classrooms where the students are. The classroom teachers come to us. The whole population of the school gets used to seeing us there. They see our teachers, they see our kids. And here's what that means, you guys. These students who are there, they're not SPED students in a school now. They're just kids going to their school. They're an accepted member of the school population. This is something that we do not see all the time. Furthermore, our teachers who are there are accepted members of the staff. So as much as students are isolated in their schools when there's 1 student and 1 teacher going there, teachers are isolated. Teachers don't have a home. All of a sudden, these teachers have a home. That's a big deal to the satisfaction quotient. As we have been, I've been studying recently in a great book we've been reading, It's Your Ship. It's not pay often that makes staff feel unsatisfied. It's when you don't feel that you belong. It's when you don't get support. All of a sudden, this is here for the staff and the students, and it has worked out just so wonderfully. I invite you all to go to Coyote Springs Elementary and feel what it's like there. So this is a model for the future. to support our decreasing resources. It's a model for the future for, as I was saying, student growth, but also to decrease teacher isolation, which is a significant factor in the satisfaction as well as professional development for us and for the gen ed teachers we work alongside. As far as educational achievement, we don't have all of that information in yet because the standardized testing will be occurring this month. We have seen all of the children meet and exceed their IEP goals, and they're working on new goals. They're participating in the Galileo testing in their mainstream schools, and that is something that we're keeping track of, and we will be able to report to you about that next year. Some of the challenges we faced, we didn't anticipate the need to include the preschool program, and we have a lot of kids coming up. We have 8 children in the preschool program alone that we would need to house next year. So we're trying to figure that out, trying to work it out with the Humboldt School District, where we can do that and how we can do that. We also need a full-time Brailleist with 9 students needing Braille. We have a part-time Brailleist and we have a VI aide, and we like to grow our own Braillists, and we do that pretty effectively, but we need somebody who can hit the ground running with us right now as well. For the students that are severely language delayed, even this model is often not enough. So we still believe that there are young children there that would benefit most from a placement on campus, PDSD or ASD. Just to remind you about the Continuum of Services, we have itinerant services where often a child is the only child in the school, the only child in the program. Our teachers come and go. The partnership program is kind of in the middle between the campus-based program where students are based with their peers who have similar needs. The partnership program is kind of a happy middle, where it's not fully students who share similar disabilities. They also enjoy the benefits of being in the gen ed classroom. I have a full Excel worksheet that Danielle Cummings worked up with Nick Dunford to look at our costs, and I'd be happy to send that to you. This is just the summary sheet of that. So you see that the voucher funds in the partnership and not in the partnership are the same. We would collect that same amount of money. We'd collect the same in the fee-for-service students. Total funds collected would be the same. The yearly fees differ because in the partnership, we pay back the increased tuition reimbursement. We also pay a subsidy for transportation. This accounts for the higher costs in the partnership, in the yearly fees. The total weekly and total yearly costs are determined by pay plus ERE plus travel. And I think that's about it. That's the yearly costs. You see, this is a significant difference in the partnership and if we are not doing the partnership, and here's the big reason why. Our teachers, if we are not serving students in the single sites, teachers are traveling, and that cost adds up very quickly in this 300 square mile area. So the cost is, we were surprised at the savings in this cost. You see then we have summarized it. And the savings in the partnership, and we've worked it out with Nick and with Danielle, and the savings is $61,000 in the partnership. Once again, this is due to the costs of loss of teacher time when you're traveling. So the blessing and the curse of the itinerant model, we serve students so well in their home schools, but it is an expensive model, and we are happy to see that, as Dr. Rex put it, not only are we doing what feels so good and so right in this partnership program, we're saving money as well. Here's some of our staff that work there, feel-good pictures. This is we have 3 students with visual impairments in one of the 5th grade classes. They're they're all working on prodigies, and this allows them they can see what's on the board with the camera that enlarges the print. Right now they're listening to an audio. They can listen to what the teacher says, delivered right to through their headphones. So it's terrific technology, and it's right there for them to make use of. Here's some of our the younger HI kids. The little guy on the left in the red, his family moved from Payson so they could participate in this program. And it is, they have been so happy with this move. They've seen their son acquire language. He is just a signer. He will not be a listening and spoken language little guy. He's profoundly deaf, and he is, gosh, he's doing tremendously well. We get famous visitors.
Whose head is that?
Whose head is that? I love this picture.
Whose head is that?
That would be the esteemed board member Davison. I love this fall carnival picture. I mean, how cool can a shark look?
How'd you convince her to wear the shark costume?
Chocolate. And I don't just gratuitously throw pictures of the superintendent into my slideshow. Really, Superintendent Reichman has been such a supporter in every step of the way. She came and spoke to the whole student body at Coyote Springs Elementary. Everybody was there. The students were, imagine, the whole student body is there, and you could hear a pin drop. They were truly taken with everything you were talking about. You've done that. You have been with us really all throughout the journey, and we're so appreciative. So this is the Braille Challenge. We're going in for the goal here. 2 of our students from Coyote Springs won their age level in the Braille Challenge. That is something, because these are kids who are just learning this in their gen ed school. And here's a motley crew. Look at this. So, in conclusion, I'm so pleased to have been able to talk to you about this. And if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Where else in your region do you see this rolling out? I mean, so for instance, a family that moved from Payson, obviously it would be better if they got to stay in Payson. Right?
Absolutely. So what it takes is a critical mass of students and teachers. In Payson, he was the only little guy who needed sign. So we would love to do this in Flagstaff. We had done something on a similar nature to this several years ago that got disbanded when we weren't working with FUSD anymore. Now that we are, we would love to do that. One of our big pulls is to try to get kids from the reservation down to where we are, because it is, it's so hard to get teachers up on the reservation. And we have a bunch of kids up there.
So Chinley in that area.
Well, yes, I think that would be too difficult to do for a day school. But what if we did that, EHR? So we have been talking to districts and to different regions. Dr. Rex recently spoke with the superintendents up in EHR, and I think they're thinking about trying to get it rolling in Holbrook. And so those kids, I think, could do that. Here, we could get Tuba City kids. It's an hour and 15 minutes, but we have students there with so many needs. So if we could do that, if we could get it rolling in Flagstaff, wow. I think Dr. Sims, that would be our next move where we would like to do it.
And Holbrook would, are there a lot of people up in the Lakeside Pine Top region?
Enough that I believe it would be viable, yes.
Sholo and
Yes.
okay, great. Well, All right, so we'll see it in September. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And I do want to say, obviously, the gig's up. I
Linda.
I had the privilege of being able to go up to Coyote Springs.
Oh, nice.
I'm sorry. And with Dr. Rex and see the program. And it was really a pleasure. I enjoyed seeing what was going on and saw lots of good things happening.
Go ahead, Linda, sorry.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted to make sure he was speaking first. Okay, this is Linda Bove, and I'm wondering how many students are in the Flagstaff area? You were talking about several. Do you have a number?
Yes. Oh, okay.
I didn't think you were
A
gonna-
rough number, maybe?
Yes, I have a rough number. There are perhaps children who would need a sign language interpreter, maybe 5, 6, 7. We would also put children in there who would need listening and spoken language. We would love to be able to serve them in a central site.
Sorry, LSL, let me clarify what that means. Oh, Shelley just explained it. Okay. Go right ahead.
Yes, for students who will be more oral than using sign language. And
Okay, so the reason I was asking, is it okay if I move forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Okay, great. The reason I mentioned it, because I know a lovely couple, actually, that live in Flagstaff, and they're very, very motivated to be involved. Do you know who I'm speaking of? No, maybe?
there are several couples in Flagstaff who are deaf that we work with.
Right. Daisy Cartwright?
Yes.
And she's always trying to get me to come to Flagstaff
Yes.
and do story time and meet parents and work with the children, and I keep delaying that. But I know that Daisy, I believe that she has the passion and she has great skill as well. So I'm not sure if you could link up with her or partner with her.
Yes, actually, we already do. We have already made.
Oh, wonderful.
She is such a valuable asset to our program, working with families whose children have been newly identified with deafness or a hearing loss, and she works in Barbara Schrag's in the Deaf Mentor program, actually, in the early childhood and family education program. So yes, and they both sub for us. They're both substitute teachers as well.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, okay, great. I promised her that I would come visit the area, so hopefully I'll be able to
Please.
do that soon.
Please.
And this is Shelley. Shelley speaking at this point. Okay, so I would like to clear something up. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I think that it is important for students to be together and definitely have that socialization as well. Instead of being isolated, I think this is a great idea. But as for the vision, is that going to be like a Monday through Friday, just kind of like a regular school schedule? Or are you thinking, is this once a week? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Do you mean in serving the students who are there?
Right, those that come to that centralized place, whether it be Coyote Springs or them all coming into one place, does this happen every day? Is it like a day school?
Yes.
Consistently?
Yes, it is. We have identified students who are high
Great,
needs,
wonderful.
but who are members of the gen ed education environment.
Okay, great. Thanks for that clarification.
You're welcome.
And if any board members want to come up and tour the site, I'll be happy to drive you up. Lynn was a good person. I'm coming up from Tucson. I can pick anybody up, and we'd love to give you a tour.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, that was a great
Look.
presentation.
Minimal amount of wrapping, what can I say?
Oh, no wrap for the closure, okay, we're all right with that.
I remain your obedient servant,
Next is item 1.03. Oh, sorry. Call to the public for any agendized items. There are no submissions. So we will go to 1.04, the team, or the executive reports, starting with business services. Richard?
President Sims, members of the board, Superintendent Rex, Assistant Superintendent Rex, Superintendent Reichman, sorry. You have my report before you. It's really a report of a survey that was done on how we're serving our customers and what they're, and how they think we're serving them. And this is really a baseline because it's the first time we've done this. It said, are we meeting your needs? And two big things that came out in the report says that are communication and customer service. So we're focusing on those things. So I've attached a copy of a newsletter we put out because people said, well, I don't know what business services does. If I get my paycheck on time, I'm happy. If I don't, I'm really upset. So for example, payroll was our highest, our most appreciated unit, and at the same time, it was the one people were the maddest at. And so we've got a baseline now that we can work with, and hopefully we'll see improvement in all areas in the future, but that's basically what the report says, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Richard? Thank you very much, Richard.
Okay.
Next is Human Resources. Anita Pete.
Good afternoon, Board President Sims, members of the board, Superintendent Reichman, and Assistant Superintendent Dr. Rex. In your board packet is a copy of our Human Resources report. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to highlight a couple of items. In February, we held a staff recognition event at our Tucson campus. We had pizza from Papa John's, had salad from food service. Our recognition slogan was, "Any way you slice it, you're amazing." So we look forward to doing that as well for our Phoenix Day School campus. Recruitment is in full swing. We're making sure that we make those connections with the universities and college for those deaf and blind education programs. In addition, just like Richard Valdivia had said, we also had conducted a survey about our customer service to our employees. And we've looked at what they're satisfied with, what they're not satisfied with, and we are addressing those concerns. One of those is, the recruiting, how we're making ASDB a better place to work, and the explanation of our benefits and how those interrelate with the Arizona Department of Administration. At this time, I'd like to make myself available for any questions that you may have.
Yes. Oh,
No, go ahead.
go ahead.
I just had a question in regards to the Southern Arizona Job Fair. Were you able to recruit anybody from that event?
No, a lot of the job fairs that we go to, we attend those for presence. However, most of our applicants that we get in our application database are through word of mouth, through referrals from employees. We've got some through LinkedIn, but mostly are from referrals, not necessarily from job fairs.
Okay, this is Shelley speaking. I was looking at the job vacancies, and it seems like we are filling positions. There's not as many. I'm only seeing 4 early childhood teachers that are needed, and it doesn't say anything about middle school or high school teachers. Can you explain that?
Sure. Currently, the vacancy list that you have in front of you, we are filling those positions currently. However, we're also looking at our forecast for next fiscal year, for next school year, and so those will be coming out soon, those positions.
Okay. If I could. Thank you. Oh, hello. I'm Linda. And what was I going to... Let me think of how I want to phrase this. Just looking as a deaf perspective, how to recruit deaf teachers. What is your means of recruitment? And what are your efforts, and what have they been so far?
Sure. So currently we've developed devised a recruitment plan, and in that platform it's connecting with the colleges and universities to locate how many students are graduating from the deaf and blind education programs. In addition, we attend job fairs. We also ensure that we are providing incentives to recruit teachers from out of state as well as from other educational schools here in Arizona. What we're finding is that, like I said, a lot of our recruiting that we do based on the data that we've pulled from our database is that a lot of our candidates do not come from job fairs. They mostly come from internships that may be conducted with the organization, referrals from staff members that currently work here, as well as we've done another platform through LinkedIn where we've done some what we call passive recruiting, where we reach out to individuals that may not necessarily be looking for employment with Arizona State Schools for the Deaf and Blind. However, after talking to them and I guess wooing them over to our organization, we were able to use that as a platform in hiring.
Let me add to that. I'll expand, I'll add. We've not, in a while, done any targeted recruiting of deaf individuals to become teachers. That's changing now. We just sent one of our staff today to Gallaudet University to really focus on recruiting teachers who themselves are deaf to come and work for ASDB. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. That's a good way. I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you. I'm sending someone out to do that and have face-to-face conversations rather through social media. Can I ask another question? Is that okay? Okay. A follow-up question. So what kind of challenges are you coming across with recruiting potential teachers? I'm just curious what challenges you're facing.
A lot of the challenges that we're facing are there's not as many deaf and blind education programs as there used to be. So what we're really searching for is the unicorn. Somebody that has a background in education, but also has that specialized skilled in deaf education as well as blind education. And so we're competing with other school districts that may in-house their own special education program, as well as schools or deaf and blind schools around the states.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question?
Sure.
It's great that we're recruiting that, especially in the culture in the state where we have an incredible teacher shortage. Forget about special ed teachers. If we look down the road, it looks like there seems to be a very positive possibility for the expansion funding for the IDSC infants and toddlers teachers. I know I had the opportunity to listen to the superintendent speak to JLBC, and I think it was either the House or the Senate, one of the two. She did a fantastic job in that gubernatorial ask for funds. I know part of that was scoping out how that funds would go towards the in-house push out for those infant and toddler services, family direct services. I'm wondering if we've scoped that plan, assuming that goes through and that those funds come to us, if we have a specific plan in place and how we might get that plan, just so that we could review it and see if there are any potential strategies we might take to better our chances of filling those positions, either internally or externally, or how we might get those qualified people in place to provide those critical services to our babies out in the state. I don't know if I didn't see that we can't really spend money we don't have yet, but I just want to make sure that we have the foresight to take a look at how we're going to go about getting those services to those kids.
Yes, I would like to respond to that. We have already put together a cross-agency collaborative team from HR, from business services, from marketing, from the early childhood family education program as well. And we're working together as a team. We've developed a recruitment plan. And in fact, the staff person who's flying to Gallaudet today is part of that recruitment plan to look for early intervention teachers, bring them to Arizona. But part of the plan is not just the recruitment piece. What do we do with 21 new teachers? They're not going to be joining us at the same time, but we need to provide supports. I'm assuming that who we bring to the agency are not going to have all of the training and experiences that we need to be a highly qualified early intervention teacher with the specialty that we need in listening, spoken language, and American Sign Language, and in working with infants and toddlers who are blind and visually impaired. So all of that, those pieces are there too. We have just started developing a professional development plan. We're going to put together a competency checklist so that when we bring in new teachers, we see what they bring to the table and then what kind of training, mentoring, and support that we need to provide. We're just on the cusp of that, but that's starting, that's happening now. So this is part of my kind of later presentation to you, is we are right now at a very critical juncture, critical time in terms of how we move forward or not move forward.
Just as a follow-up, thank you very much for that. As a follow-up question, I know as a former special ed director at my co-op was DVRC, we struggled to get some itinerant folks in, and I was able to subcontract out for O&M, and really, I had a couple of blind kids that we really, really wanted to keep in an inclusive setting, and so that sort of goes back to that. The Humboldt thing is awesome. But have we looked at expanding our recruitment to maybe look outside the box a bit and see what services might be available that we could borrow, contract? Because finding those 20-some people, it's going to be an uphill slog. But there might be some resources out there that we could leverage as an agency if we have the funding coming from them.
We would welcome your participation.
Absolutely.
In the planning.
I'd love to.
Yes.
These kids are important.
We will welcome you. Yes.
Thank you.
I was wondering if we're also looking at other institutions like Central Institute for the Deaf or Moog Center, where the listening and spoken language would be of focus for them.
All of them are on the list. Yes, every university institution we could find and identify that had any kind of program that focused on deaf education is on our list.
So we can keep
All
our
of them.
options open for parents.
Yes.
And just last question: are we participating in the Great Teach-In coming up here in a couple weekends?
Yes.
Great. See you there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next report is information and technology. Paul Creasy.
Good evening, Board President Sims, members of the board, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendent Rex. You've been provided in your board packets my board report for the IT department. And I'd like to highlight that when I submitted the board report, we were in the middle of a process of identifying, having some vendors out to identify different types of smart boards to replace in our classrooms. And at the time that I submitted that board report, the committee had not yet selected any vendors yet, but we have since been able to narrow it down to 3 different vendors. And actually, with the follow-up is that as of today, there's a couple of units that are being shipped out to PDSD campus and the Tucson campus as well, that we hope to get by tomorrow and next week, so that we can have our teachers start testing them out and playing around with them, so that way we can narrow it down to identify one standardized solution. And so with that, it's been a large task, but I want to say that we've made a lot of progress in this, and with the goal of identifying that vendor and actually be able to start ordering products and have them here and installed before the next school year. With that, I'd like to open myself to any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is,
Wait.
oh, I'm sorry.
Mark, I have one question. I'm learning. Please bear with me. I'm still learning. This is Linda. And I learn best through asking questions. So my question to you, with those smart boards, that helps the teachers with their teaching of the lessons and curriculum. This is not a replacement for the teachers if they're out or if they leave the room for a short time. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that you have a smart board and a teacher there in the classroom.
Absolutely. The smart boards is a tool that the teachers are using for their instruction.
And I will be visiting the classroom and seeing for myself. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Next is media and communications. Ryan.
Good afternoon, Board President Sims, members of the board. Our newest board member, Linda, and I remember you from Sesame Street from when I was a kid, so welcome. See, I might have to get your autograph later on a library book, I believe, right? As well as Superintendent Reichman and Assistant Superintendent Rex. Before you have a copy of my board report. And before I open myself up for some questions, I'd like to highlight a couple of key accomplishments we've had in the past couple of months. The Western States Basketball Classic was a tremendous partnership and collaborative effort between my team and the great staff at Phoenix Day School for the Deaf. And we were able to live stream 24 different basketball games. It provided tremendous positive coverage for the agency across the Western Hemisphere. Actually, we had people as far away as India who came to watch it live. They watched our basketball games live. And it was very interesting. It actually resulted in about 30,000 website hits for a week period of time. To put that in perspective, usually in a month we only get 4,000 to 5,000. So it was pretty positive reception. So we're very excited about that. The most important thing I want to point out, though, is that we were able to involve students at every level in the media coverage and production. We had students run the live stream. We had student photographers that my team taught and trained and taught them to get the angles and for the shots. So it was a great student learning experience, and we were very excited by that. Another very important event was the governor's visit and tour, as well as the Gallaudet President University's President's tour of PDSD that received tremendous accolades. And my team was very happy because the governor's staff actually called them out and said, "You guys did a great job." Mostly because, by the way, of a video they produced where they were very nice to the governor and made sure that it only took him 2 shots to sink the free throw. And President Sims is aware of the true number.
2.
It was 2. Because
It's 2.
This is being recorded for the public, so he's one heck of a basketball player. So we were very excited by that. Another positive thing, which is kind of ended, my team also does special projects, and one of the key things that we're trying to figure out is how do we support education? How do we support the agency? And Aaron Moya designed with an interpreting request system that simplified our current process from 20 steps down to 1 or 2. And estimated savings for the agency is $20,000 minimum, not including the frustration of having the wrong interpreted requests. People go out there without the information you need, as well as lost labor time and inefficiency. So we're very proud about that. Another thing I'd like to point out is, my team has made it their top priority to assist HR in early childhood in all recruitment efforts. So we produced videos. This question will be asked. We have a video produced that also has ASL as well as captioning to make sure it's fully accessible to the various areas that we're recruiting across the U.S. Tons of different materials to hand out. we struggle so much in the regional co-ops that I just said, I'm going to become Ryan marketing brochure guy. And so I wrote travel literature, which sells very hard to sell areas. Like Holbrook, come to Holbrook. Why? And so I sold the rugged lifestyle. So we're going above and beyond to take it to the next level for recruitment. And I want to assure you that it's the top priority of my division to fill those hard to fill vacancies and assist HR with the tremendous work that they're already doing. And survey results as well. Both business services, HR, and IT, have approached my team, and we've been doing those survey. Those are the survey results they're referring to. And what's most exciting is this is a time when people are really using survey results at the next level. It's truly driving decisions. When I first started surveys 3 years ago, it was a new concept for the agency, and they're like, there's a lot of fears. Survey results have been used in the past to punish people. They literally were not anonymous. They would call people up and say, why'd you give me a bad score? It took a long time to build trust. And so I'm really excited that leadership is taking it to the next level to actually use it to drive decisions based on hard, cold facts. So at this time, I'd like to open up myself for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Terry Pritchard, Operations.
Good afternoon, Board President Sims, members of the board, Superintendent Reichman, Assistant Superintendent Rex. Before you have my report as well. A couple things I'd like to highlight. At the last meeting, we had a question about school buses. We have ordered 6 school buses. They should be in roughly end of May, 1st of June. Also, we applied for a ADE food service equipment grant. I just found out earlier this week we were not selected this year, but we do appreciate the grant and the support of ADE for that. Any questions that I can answer?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is instructional, Dr. Kristen Rex.
Good afternoon, President Sims, board members, Superintendent Reichman. I have submitted my report based upon the 5 cooperatives, ECFE, PDSD, ASDB Tucson, as well as the deaf and blind statewide programs, but I have a couple quick announcements. I just wanted to let the board know that the Arizona Regional Braille Challenge took place on February 20th. The overall winner was Joey Para from the Southeast Regional Cooperative. He's a middle school student, yay. And this is not his first rodeo. He's actually won a few times, so he's done quite well for himself. 36 contestants competed from all over the state of Arizona. Their parents came. There was a parent-family event at Dave & Buster's, and 60 family members attended at that point. There was also a nice panel of adults that have specific visual impairments, and they talked to the parents about the importance of Braille. We also had DSR from the University of Arizona, as well as PIMA accommodations in college is a hot topic for parents, and what kind of skills will your child need to be successful. And so they had a very nice presentation for the families to kind of learn and grow at that event. DSR is resources, disability student resources at the college level. We have a lot of acronyms, Linda. We're gonna have to get you a cheat sheet.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
I left Monday, my awesome house in Tucson, and I haven't been back, but I look forward to going home sometime tonight. We're doing our round the state interviews for our director search. We currently have director searches in the North Central region, in the Eastern Highlands region, and here at the Desert Valleys region. We had the opportunity to screen many applications, and from that screening we set up interviews. We interviewed 6 individuals at the DVR site Monday and Wednesday. We interviewed 4 applicants in Flagstaff at the NCR site, And we hope to have some background information and some definite recommendations to go to Superintendent Reichman soon to make a decision to fill those positions. We're also currently working with the Attorney General's office to hopefully offer contracts to teachers. That has been a labor of love that I'm hoping is going to come not too late, but soon enough to get teachers. This is the season to go hunting for teachers, and we have to get jobs posted, and we have to get people to come on board. And we've received feedback that because we don't give contracts, people don't feel that confidence for whatever reason. So we want to make sure that we have these contracts hopefully available to offer to staff to help promote recruitment and retention.
Any questions?
I have a bit of an unrelated question. So I remember at the previous board meeting, we were enlightened that we're lacking a consistent curriculum for language arts and math and some other the core pieces. And it's great that we have smart boards to help promote what we're going to be teaching. What's our process for taking a look at gaining some consistent curriculum for our programs in Phoenix and Tucson, and then kind of along that timelines, and have we looked at what, since we serve more kids in our regional co-ops, have we looked at the curriculums that they use so that there's a crossover from what we might be looking at adopting, and do we have timelines vetted for when we might go about looking to do that?
Stay tuned. At the retreat this afternoon, we will give you more information than you ever wanted to know about probably curriculum, the school improvement grant, the opportunities, timelines. Yes, our cooperatives do, when those itinerant teachers go out, we use the district curriculums.
Right.
We are definitely looking at standards-based curriculum, and there's an adoption process, and there is a timeline. And yes, we're going to be working on that specific information to give to you at the retreat this afternoon.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Superintendent with the agency report.
Okay. Good afternoon, President Sims and members of the board. I would like to start off with a book. This book is called It's Your Ship.
You covered the P, so I wasn't sure what that was.
And it says, management techniques from the best damn ship in the Navy. We, as a collective, have been reading this book. It's been part of our leadership academy since last fall. We've had 4 trainings. We've had a lot of discussions about leadership skills and what it means to be an effective leader. For example, how do we show respect? How do we listen? How do we develop relationships? How do we create trust? How do we lead by example? How do we listen, and this is kind of an interesting term, aggressively listen. How do we communicate with purpose and intent? How do we have a compelling vision? How do we create a climate of trust? How do we look for results and not salutes? The whole book has this theme about this captain that he became a captain of a ship, and it was the worst ship in the Navy, the worst. And 3 years he transformed it to the best damn ship in the Navy. So, you know, with that, I think about ASDB's vision. Obviously, we can't say that we aspire to be the best damn agency in the country. We can't say that. But can we say that ASDB will offer the best education and services in the country to all of our students in the state who are deaf, hard of hearing, blind, and visually impaired. And that's the vision, that's why we're here, that's what we're aspiring to. Obviously, the current reality, we're not there. We're not even close to being there. We have a lot of work to do. And I wanted to mention to you, like I said earlier, this is a really critical time in our agency. We, as a ship, we're starting to make a turn here. We have a lot of new things going on. You've heard about some already. The Early Childhood Family Education Program, the possibility that we'll get additional funding and what that means. You've heard about the School Improvement Grant, and we'll talk about that more later. You've heard about 3 of our 5 regional directors. We're hiring 3 out of 5. So that really means we're looking at our regional programs and how we provide services throughout the state. And do we create more centers similar to the Quad City and Prescott? Is that the model that we want to do elsewhere? And if yes, how do we do that? And how do we know that it works in the way that we intend it to work? So a lot of these conversations are happening internally, and we're rolling up and we're getting ready to move. But none of this happens without effective leadership. None of this happens without stable leadership. None of this happens without your support and active involvement in making these type of decisions and moving forward. Because when you think about a ship, and we turn the ship here, we have the wheel. I don't know what you call that, but you think of the old-fashioned ship. They have this wheel there. We all have to have hands on the wheel. We need to be turning this around. We need to have eyes looking to see what's happening on the ocean, what's happening in the environment, what changes are going on. We need to have a map. We have an idea of where we're going. And we need to have a belief that we're going to get there, that this is actually going to happen. It's what we need to do. So with that, right now, we have 3 regional directors that we are replacing. We're now starting the interview process for business services to bring in a new executive director of business services. We really need your support in working with us. And some of the conversations that we'll have a little bit later, just keep in mind that effective leadership only happens when we are all doing this together. And I, as your superintendent, really need to know that I have your support. I obviously have a lot to learn, a lot more to grow. I really believe in continuous improvement, and I'm open to feedback and conversations at all times. I hope I am. I try to be. I try to listen to you, aggressively listen to you, and be responsive. So just wanted to put that out there before we proceed with further conversation. Thank you for listening.
This is Shelley. I have a question. Well, maybe 2. I've been a part of PDSD for many years. My kids have started preschool here several years ago, and trust is hard. To see change happening, I know it takes time. Right, you have, for you to right the ship. Right now, staff and parents, how are they responding? Do they see an improvement? Do they see that they can finally believe in you now, or are you still feeling that resistance? Half and half. This is Annette. I do think that there is some sense of trust and maybe still some, let's wait and see. Later, during our retreat, we will be discussing the school improvement grant, and we will be talking about curriculum. Our schools do not have a formal curriculum. There's still a lot of work that we're just starting to move forward with. Thank you.
This is Mike. Can I just jump in on that real quick? I do need to comment that in the last, since the superintendent's taken over here, there has been a marked improvement in the collaboration between ASDB and the Department of Education. I actually had a chance to speak with Devin Isherwood, who is in charge of school improvement activities for the department, along with Alyssa Trollinger, who's the State Director of Special Education. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but to answer that question a bit, it is a brave new world where these relationships are starting to blossom. And it does take time to build that trust, but for the first time in a long time, there's a level of transparency and active partnerships that are going on that probably haven't been there, at least for a while. So let's get it done, Captain, I suppose.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, next on to consent agenda items. The consent agenda items are approval of consent agenda items consistent with board policy to include items 3.01, 3.02, 3.03, 3.04, 3.05, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4.01, 5.01, and 5.04. Any motion? You're going to do it?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda items as described.
I make a counter motion to remove 3.08 from the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any others? Okay. So, all in favor to approve all of the items but for 3.08? Motion for that?
Aye.
That's fine. That's all right. A motion?
Do we have to vote to remove it?
Make a motion to accept
We have
all.
to vote to remove it first and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, vote to remove the item. Right.
Okay. I'll second the motion to remove item 3.08.
Yeah.
Yep.
Better, yeah. Okay.
That's okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so,
Aye.
aye, okay. And then we'll go ahead and approve the others. Or do we need to go into executive session? No, we need to go into executive session. Right. A motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into executive session on item 3.08.
A second?
Do we approve the consent agenda first?
No, we'll do that after.
Go back to it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So we'll go into executive session.
I need to read the.
Yep, go ahead.
Pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1, the Board of Directors may vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public for the purposes of discussion and consideration of employment matters as it relates to agenda items.
So we'll, if anybody wants to take a quick break, go to the restroom, and then we'll meet in the executive session room. It's the classroom on the side that we meet, the ballet room, right?
Not the one.
One next door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I?
Yep, you just took
I
Mark.
totally did. Right.
Okay. Do we have to do it? All right. We're back in session. Go ahead. Something about the information about all the consent items. Sorry.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Absent 3 point.
Absent 3.01, we've already moved
Right.
to remove that.
Is there a
So
second?
it is-
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next for 3.08. I move that we approve renewal of Barbara Schrag's contract.
I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. So there are 1, 2, 3, there are 8. 6 for, 2 against. Okay. Next agenda item. Okay. Let me see. So, agency ombudsman. Oh no. Yep.
I'm sorry. Can we do that again? I am lost. I need to know who opposed.
Mr.
How many
Manley
opposed?
And Mr. Dean.
2?
2.
3? 2. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. Sorry. So the next is agency ombudsman item. Correct? Am I on track here? So the issue with the agency ombudsman is there's two. One is we actually need a formal policy because we haven't defined the position within policy. So that is one of the issues. So before we can actually put somebody on contract, we would need to actually specify what would be those actual services. So the issue here is I'm going to ask the same committee, along with Maria Murphy, to go and there is a sample policy and meet with Superintendent Reichman as well. And if you want to ask me, I'll gladly contribute, and I'll gladly not contribute, regardless of whether or not you need it or not, to come up with a proposed policy to the board as to what the role of the ombudsman is. And in a lot of ways, it's hard for us to award a contract to somebody till we can actually tell them what the actual job description is. So the hope is by the next board meeting to have an actual job description, and then to be able to award the contract at that point to an individual. We actually already publicly announced that individual, but we would need to circle back and ensure that that individual is willing to fulfill the roles as we specify. So I'm going to ask you, David. Suke, weren't you on that as well? So I appreciate your efforts, and get Bill Gibney. No, I'm kidding. He's not going to do any more work on that. But your committee to meet and go ahead and do that. Okay. Any other questions or comments about that? Okay. Next is a call to the public on non-agenda items. Did you get any slips or any submissions?
No, I think you've got
503?
donation.
Oh, 503, I'm sorry. Approval of donations. My bad.
I move we accept the donations.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, then unanimous. I'm sorry. Next is call to the public on non-agenda items. Leticia says there are none. The next is agenda items for the next meeting scheduled June 14th, 2018. I have one. I've asked Mike Gordon, and I'm going to ask Mike Manley to do this since they've been kind of the budget gurus, along with Maria Murphy, to look and suggest whether or not we should or shouldn't have a board policy to approve the budget prior to submission to the governor's office. So trying to become more in line with other school boards. should we be, should the board be approving it? And if we should, what would be the language that would go into the change in board policy to make that the case? And also to be aware of timelines. So given that this is a June 14th, if there is a need to have a special board meeting to discuss it beforehand, if you feel that we should be doing it and that would put us up against a pretty hard deadline, then you can communicate with Superintendent Reichman's office about whether or not, where they see the budget process from their point of view. So you understand what I'm saying, Mike? Because
I do.
If you know, June 14th, we adopt this and then we can't do it, that's a problem, so.
Well, since the fiscal year ends June 30th, typically a regular district would have their board approve their budget by then, so.
So my point
So
is though, is, but
we're
if you come to
probably
the
looking at-
conclusion we're not gonna, you don't think we should, then don't call me to have a special meeting, so, I understand.
Keep your phone on.
Okay, it will be, okay. Okay, thank you. Any other items that board members would like discussed at the next board meeting in Tucson? The other thing is, Leticia, can you go ahead, I suspect they're set, email the board members and tell them when the graduation is in both Phoenix and in Tucson? So it's always, I mean, I'll check my schedule. Sometimes I have conflicts with my kids' schedules, but it's always nice for board members to show up at the graduation to support the agency and see the wonderful culmination of their education through the schools. So. Okay, next is adjournment, action item adjournment.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. We'll take a break and then go to the other room for the retreat.